What's up, team? Welcome to the video. Welcome to 2019. Welcome to the year of the robot. Welcome to my apartment with a slightly new arrangement. I put my bed over there, my couch over here. Just kind of feeling a change of pace. In this one-take raw video filmed from my iPhone, I want to talk about what I plan on doing every day. So this is kind of a continuation of just like last week's video, Year of the Robot. What is it? What's on my mind? Unplanned, unedited, just talking about stuff. And several of you asked about like specifics about what I'm going to be doing each day. So I think that'll make for an interesting video. So I hope you enjoy. So first, back up real quick, a lot of positive feedback, a lot of like other people of you guys who feel like you can relate to, we'll call it my problem, which is being too much of a why person and not enough of a why not person, at least recently. Thinking too much, not doing enough, and at the core of it, like knowing when I'm in my best state what I should be doing, but then in that future state not being able to execute. So the robot reference isn't like, oh, I don't have any feelings, I don't like, I'm actually a robot, like that's not it, but it's be able to program myself to do the things that I know I should do, some of those that I'm gonna struggle with doing, but then actually executing on them. So that's what we're doing. I'm gonna talk about what, I have the list right here that I emailed myself. It's from my notes on my phone. And I'm gonna run through it. It's 6 days a week. I feel like I know myself fairly well, and I've done extremely well historically when I've given myself a complete day off and then actually followed it. Like, not done any work, not replied to any email, not done anything on social, consuming or creating, like legit day off. And oftentimes planning that, like knowing who I'm gonna be hanging out with and what I'm gonna be doing. And like, it doesn't have to be just like lay in bed and watch TV for 16 hours, but completely off of work and mostly off of technology is my plan. But on those other 6 days, here are the things I'm gonna be doing. And I'll probably do other things, but this was like a reasonable list of things I know I should do. Number one, deep breaths. I used to have a solid morning routine where I had 3 or 4 things that I would do, and probably the most beneficial was lay on my floor and take 10 deep breaths. Like brushing my teeth was one of them. I didn't feel like that needed to be programmed in, but laying down, taking 10 diaphragmatic breaths, like deep into my belly, it helps activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which isn't super necessary right upon waking, but is necessary to do in life, especially for those of us who don't naturally really breathe well during the day. And I often catch myself like not to that degree of noise, but just chest breathing, shallow breathing, which isn't good mentally or physically. So 10 deep breaths in the morning to start the day. Check my calendar for people's birthdays. That's something I'm trying to get good at because a lot of people care about their birthdays being recognized, and so I'd like to like do that for friends and family and you know, even like acquaintances and just internet friends, like people in general who I know their birthdays, so I'm trying to get good at that. And I don't really use my calendar outside of that because I've struggled historically with, you know, programming in specific times. It goes back to the maker versus manager article by Paul Graham, where like a Gary V, a manager, an outsourcer, a delegator has meetings and has it all drawn up and it's just like bang, bang, bang. Whereas a maker or like someone who's, I don't want to say more creative, partly because that discounts his creativity, but it references, I think, engineers, people doing coding, more like art stuff, as needing blocks of time or like half days. And I've done much better with a maker schedule, basically not programming in the specific times I'm going to do things, but just knowing what I need to do and then having like the afternoon open. I'll reference that article below. It's older, but it's really good. Train a client in person. That's going to be basically every day. Sometimes 2, sometimes 0. I'm not really taking on in-person clients, but I have a little bit because I like it and it keeps me fresh and I enjoy it. And there's part of me that needs a certain amount of human interaction. I've been super into MBTI lately. I'm an ISTJ. I think that's right. I think I was mistyped as an INTJ like years ago when I took the test, because I've taken multiple tests in the last 3 or 4 months and gotten the same thing every time. But all of us need some interaction with other humans. I used to think that I could get away with almost none, which I now know is wrong. And but there's a balance, right? Like too much, and I'm gonna burn out and just need a full day of like doing nothing to recover from that, and not enough interaction. And I would say 2018 I under socialized with other humans, and like under interaction leads to kind of going crazy, so that's not good either. So that's part of the benefit of training clients in person as well. So that's on there. I have my client emails and then my personal inbox, and I just have Crush, which means basically reply to all emails. There's going to be some circumstances where either there's an email that isn't timely, so if that's coming from a coaching client and they don't need a response right away, I might not reply right then. I might wait and then reply when I reply to their weekly update. On the personal inbox side, sometimes people write me like, you know, like a 27 line email, just not one sentence, but one paragraph, and that's usually going in a folder of like, okay, I will reply to this, but I need to take care of all my other priorities, and that might take 5 or 6 days, or sometimes like I've let that folder get bad before, and it took me 6 months to get back to some people, but that's kind of the nature of the game with my free advice email folder. But crush both my emails 6 days a week is something that I haven't even struggled with historically, but it's just on the list because I'm going to do it. Lift or cardio. I don't want to lift 7 days a week. I could program myself to do that so it would make sense from a body part split point of view and an intensity point of view, but I just don't like lifting that much, even though I like lifting. But I want to work out 7 days a week, so lift or cardio. Right now I'm doing a pull push leg rest, upper lower rest. And on those rest days, I'm going to do 45 to 60 minutes of intentional walking, listen to audiobook probably. I like doing it at night because here in the city there are fewer people out in certain neighborhoods at night, and for whatever reason, being more isolated and walking, and like that's just better for me. I come up with better ideas. I can like zone out more, and like that's where a lot of ideas for content and just for life come from. So yeah, that's why I'm going to be doing 2 days a week of cardio, because I like the momentum of doing something every day, and maybe I'll throw in some high intensity interval training, but right now my plan is cardio not for body composition, just because I don't need it, and with a lean bulk, like there's a little bit of physiological upside, more to doing HIIT during a lean bulk than doing low intensity cardio during a lean bulk. But the primary reason for me is not for body composition, it's for the mental gains. All right, my next one, social media consumption / jabbing, parentheses, offense, exclamation point, end parentheses, which I programmed this in because oftentimes my social media usage, so not creating on social, but consuming, just came from boredom. Like, I don't really feel like doing something, so I'm going to procrastinate by often subconsciously going to my phone and just scrolling through and looking at like Instagram, looking at people's Instagram stories, scrolling on Twitter, whatever. But I want it to be intentional, and I put jabbing on here because like some people expect you to know their birthdays. There are people who expect you to know what they're up to in their content, and I'm historically, like, I might look like an extrovert and I might look to you like someone who is socially competent, but I'm not. I don't understand other people's feelings, and that sounds weird, but it's really true. And so I know when I'm thinking that I should keep up with certain people because it's good for, call it networking, but for a lot of people it's not even people that are in any way related in business. It's just like having good friendships and good relationships. And so intentionally consuming and like paying attention and commenting and interacting in a positive way is something that I want to do, check the box, and then not do for the rest of the day, and then do it the next day. Because I know I want to do it, and I know I don't want to just kind of do it when I'm bored or procrastinating like I have historically, because then I might do it 3, 4, 5 times a day, and like it ends up just being a time suck. The business mentorship, so be in the Facebook group every single day is a goal, just like keeping up to date with what people are doing, reading people's posts, reading people's comments. Taking supplements. I have some like super easy things that I want to be doing because I like the momentum of checking. Like I'm actually putting the little green check emoji on here every day and copy pasting the list to the next day, because sometimes create block for 2 to 3 hours, like that's a hard thing to check off the list. But if I can build the momentum of like, okay, I'm gonna go on social and do a half hour of jabbing, and then I'm gonna go take my fish oil and multivitamin and vitamin D, like that's going to make for momentum on the checklist before moving on to something that's a little harder. Hang out with someone in person every day intentionally. So this is something I've been doing. Like hang out with friends is kind of better because it's going to be more friends, because that's just good for me. Like hanging out with someone who makes me laugh and I make them laugh and we have a good time, we shoot the shit, we catch up. Programming that in for myself is going to be good, because oftentimes in the moment I'm like, I don't feel like hanging out or like seeing people, even though it would be better for me from how I'm doing my like state, whatever, like I just should. And so that's why it's in there. It's back to like balance of having human interaction versus not. And so hanging out with one person a day is on there. I had lunch with my buddy Sean, who today, about 6 hours ago, he used to work at the same accounting firm that I worked at. I was his big bro, he was my little bro. I quit within 2 years, he quit within 6 months. So I wasn't a very good big bro to him, but now he's in a different industry, doing really well. So it's fun catching up with him. Create block, I said, which is making stuff for 2 to 3 hours. That hasn't gone as well as it should have in the first 8 days of 2019. But again, like someone left a comment or maybe wrote me and they were like, what are you gonna do if you screw up, or like if you do one thing wrong? Like I'm paraphrasing, and this might be wrong actually, but I think it was something along the lines of like, you're gonna get down on yourself if you do something wrong, or like how are you gonna deal with that obstacle? And I don't struggle with that. Like at this point in my life, I used to with nutrition to a degree, but at this point in my life, I don't. Like consistency over perfection is pretty ingrained in me with, if I screw something up slightly, like the next day, I'm not beating myself up about it. I'm just trying to do as good as I can that day. And that's something that most people can relate to, people who are at least somewhat into fitness with their nutrition, or even with working out, having a missed workout. Because once you can ingrain the feeling of not having guilt on the back end of imperfection, you're gonna avoid the like bad couple week stretches and the bad couple month stretches, which often stem from screwing up, beating yourself up, and then getting in a bad place with it. So I'm not beating myself up about not being super creative so far, because it's coming. We're rolling, like back in New York, things are good. Mobility / soft tissue work, 3 to 11 minutes a day with the lacrosse ball, doing some movement just here in my apartment. Call to people. This is an interesting one. It's very along the lines of the in-person meeting, and kind of the social media consuming. Like some of the reasons for that play into the call to people. It's good for me, and it's good for, it's ideally it's good for me and the person I'm talking to for a number of reasons, and it's good for me to have that human interaction. So that's written in there. Plan the next day, and on Sundays plan your week, and ideally on the last day of the month plan the next month, which just means like take a high level look at what I want to do, and if there are any specific like timely obligations that have to go in the calendar, lunches, that's pretty much it. I've read for 2 hours, which I'm starting to think is a little ambitious, but I'm going to keep it and see if I can do it, because reading is where I've learned the most. It's how I learn the best, probably. Like top 2 reasons, either from imitation, like imitating others, or from reading. And those are kind of different kinds of learning. You learn about different things. So yeah, I have that programmed in. 15 minutes of meditation. When I have been at my most productive and my like kind of in the best place mentally, I was doing 15 minutes of mantra-based meditation. I was doing it twice a day. I'm setting the hurdle a little bit lower at once a day. I'll throw the program below. I actually don't know how much it costs because it was gifted to me by a friend, but I believe it's called Ziva Mind. I don't have any like skin in the game with the woman who runs it, like affiliate stuff or whatever. So yeah, but that's worked well for me in the past and I really enjoy it. I have my visualizations on here. That might get cut like globally, because the couple times I've done it, I've been like, I don't know how much sense it makes. And some people who have watched the vlogs have seen like, what are you looking at? And they're just little like cartoon pictures I've drawn, or like little words about things that I want to do or want to accomplish. But I'm not sure how necessary that is at this point. We'll see. Zero porn is on this list. I'll talk a little bit about that right now. I have a goal to kind of keep videos at specific lengths, because I think that works better. Like we're past the 15-minute mark, so I'll probably keep it about 20, but I think videos do better when they're at like, there's 12, there's 15, there's 20. And some people do that. I think there's, because I always see comments, if you're over 10 minutes, you like make more money. If you're under 10 minutes, you make less money. I've never run an ad on any of my videos, so that's not a motivator for specific times. I'm testing some things with view time and with clicks and that kind of thing. But zero porn, like I've talked about this on my Instagram story. I had a reverse bet with zero porn in 2016 to 2017. I tweeted a couple things about it. I can't now. I'm kind of blanking if I've talked about it here in the last few months, but I just think that both from a concrete, short-term, practical perspective, for me, looking at porn has a negative outcome, like desensitization to actual sex with women. I think there's like a loss of motivation associated with it on a physiological level, and probably on a psychological level. There's a little bit of guilt, which probably stems from religious upbringing, but like you hear people say that, like, oh, you feel guilty, that's because you have a religious upbringing, but I don't necessarily think that discounts the guilt, but that's kind of another conversation. Yeah, there's like a few more practical reasons. Globally, I think internet porn is, and I can't back this up, and this is all intuition, which ISTJs are horrible at, are decently bad at, I think. I think internet porn is one of the worst things that exists in the West. I think that it is zapping primarily young men of a lot of, we'll call it ambition, but like more than ambition. I use the word life force, and then some dude got on me. He's like, why are you using these like quasi non-science words? I was like, yeah, you're kind of right. Like I can't really define what I meant by life force, but just like, I think it's zapping primarily men of their desire to do, and whether that means like to actually talk to women in person, to pursue relationships with women, to like, I working from home for the last 6 years, I know there are times where I'm like, I gotta write this article, I don't feel like writing this article, I'm just gonna jerk off. Like that kind of mindset that like I think is just a real negative, and I'm going like into quackery here, which I'm fine with because I'm prefacing it for you guys, but I think that it's like, I think we have a problem with a decrease in masculinity in the West right now. And basically, like, men are less masculine than they used to be. And in some ways, you can kind of twist the argument to say that's a good thing. I think at a high level, it's a bad thing. positive masculinity, that is, because there's positive and negative masculinity and femininity despite what like current culture or like mainstream media headlines would lead you to believe. But I think there's a decrease in positive masculinity, and I think that porn, internet porn, helps or is driving that to an extent. And so that, like, I'm not smart enough, nor do I know enough to judge others or like to impose these views or to even like look upon anyone negatively, but seeing where I feel like society is going, partly driven by internet porn, wasn't intentional, is enough to, in conjunction with the practical upside, motivate me personally to not do it. And I haven't for some time, and I plan to keep that streak alive. And lastly, sleep 7 to 9 hours per night, because sleep is the game. It's massively underrated. Yeah. Thank you very much for watching. Next video will be coming most likely Saturday. 2 videos a week is what you can expect here on YouTube. In addition to this, I have like a content, how much stuff I'm going to make per platform. Oh, I don't have it on here for whatever reason, but like being way more active on Snap Story and Instagram Story, where I'm Mike Vacanti on both, like that's something that I'm doing this year as well. I hope this was mildly useful / entertaining. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. See you guys on Saturday. Have a good night.